Hello, welcome back to another lesson. In this lesson, we are going to be setting up DVWA, and that means Dem Vulnerable Web Application. This is going to be your personal hacking playground where you can legally break things, exploit vulnerabilities, and practice attacks without going to jail. Sounds exciting, right? So let's now turn our Kali Linux into a web hacking lab. You might be wondering, what does DVWA actually mean? It is an intentionally vulnerable web application. That is, it is a website that is purposely broken and full of security holes for you to exploit. You can think of it like this. You know how doctors practice on mannequins before real patients? Yeah, DVWA in this context is our own mannequin. You can hack it, break it, SQL inject it, XSS it, and nobody is going to get hurt. It has different security levels. When we get there, you're going to see that it has low, which is super easy. We have medium, which is a bit more challenging. And we have high, which is the stage where we can say, now we are talking. And we have impossible, which is properly secured and can be very boring, but it proves that you know what you're doing. Well, let's start at low and work our way up. Are you ready to do this? Yeah, let's get right into it. The first thing we're going to do is to open our VirtualBox. So you can come here and then type in your VirtualBox, because before now you already have your VirtualBox set up and then you've already installed your Kali Linux in it. So what we need to do now is to start our Kali Linux. So you select the Kali Linux virtual machine and then you click on start. Then you wait for it to come up. So our Kali is loading now. So if you're ready to set up your virtual machine, that is, if you don't have your Kali Linux yet inside your VirtualBox, I would advise you watch the video where I explained how to do that. Yeah, beautiful. We are here. Then we type in our password. The username and password. Yes, we are in now. So the next thing we want to do is to come here. You're going to see terminal. Then you're going to click on this terminal emulator. So now that our terminal is open, the next thing you want to do is to run some Linux commands. So we have sudo apt update, and then you're going to type in your Kali password. What this is doing is that it is updating the package list, so it is a good practice before you install anything in your Kali Linux. Now that this is done, we want to proceed to the cool part, which is the part where we are going to clone our DVWA from the GitHub. So what we are going to do next is to type this. So you're going to move to the directory where you are going to put the DVWA folder or directory. So you're going to type cd. Cd means change directory, and then you use /var/www, then /html. Then you're going to type that. You can see that now you are inside the HTML directory. So if you do pwd, you can see that this is the new directory where you are in. Pwd means present working directory. Now that we're already inside the HTML directory, what we want to do now is to clone our DVWA inside that directory. So to do that, we are going to do sudo git. Sudo is just like super user do. So you are trying to run something with a super user permission, like with an admin permission. If we don't use sudo, we might be seeing something like permission denied, and that is the reason why we are using sudo. So we are going to type sudo git, then clone, and then you're going to type the link to the GitHub repository where we want to clone from. So you're going to type GitHub. So the name of the repository is diggyninja dvwa.git. So you're going to clone this inside the HTML directory. So after you've typed this, then you're going to hit enter, and then the cloning process will begin. Now that our cloning process is done, if you do ls means list, and you can see that we already have like DVWA in this directory. So another thing you can do if you want to give it a special name, so you're going to type the name of the folder beside it, and then as it is cloning it, it's going to clone into that folder. The next thing we want to do now is to move inside DVWA. So we are going to say cd, then DVWA, and then if you run ls, you are going to see everything we have inside DVWA. You can see that here. So the next thing we want to do is to copy the config file. And for us to do that, what you need to type is sudo, then cp. In Linux, we use cp to copy. So you're going to type config, then /config.inc.php.dist. Then you're going to say config again, then config.inc.php. So what you're trying to say is that you're trying to copy what is here, like you're trying to copy from here into here. and then you're going to hit enter. Now that we have done that, the next thing we want to do is to open the config.inc.php file. So we can do sudo nano. We use the nano command to edit files. So you're going to type config, then /config.inc.php. What we want to do next is to find our password, and if you look here, you can see that we have our password here. So what we want to do is just to change the password into something we can easily remember. So you can come down here by hitting your arrow key to come down, and then you can come here and change this into just password. You can see that this is having @ to be A and then 0 to be O. So we can just change those ones and then just type in normal password so that it is easy for us to access anytime we want to access it. If you don't want to change it, it's not a problem. You can leave it as it is, but just know that whenever you want to type in a password in the future, you have to type in this password. All right, that is the default password, which is the one with the @ and then the one with the 0. So now that you have done that, the next thing you want to do is just to save it, and to save you are going to press Ctrl O. Then after Ctrl O, you hit enter because Ctrl O is meant for save. Then after that, you use Ctrl X to close it. Now that we have done that, the next thing we want to do now is to set up our database, because the DVWA needs a database. It uses a database. And for us to set a database, we are going to be using MySQL or MySQL. And for us to do that, we need a command, and that is sudo systemctl then start MySQL. We already have MySQL by default set in our Kali, so you can just run that and then MySQL will start. So the next thing we need to start is Apache too. So we need Apache as well. So we are going to type in sudo systemctl, then we say start Apache, but we're going to add 2 to it. So start Apache 2, and then you hit enter. Now our Apache 2 has been started too. So the next thing we now want to do is to do sudo MySQL. That is not working, so we can type sudo I, and then from here we can type MySQL. So since that is not working because we are getting some errors, access denied for user root at localhost, we can try sudo MySQL, then we are going to type in the password here. And if that doesn't work, what you now need to do is to reset the MySQL. And for you to do that, you can do sudo systemctl, then you stop MySQL first. Then after that, you use sudo MySQL d, then you use keep grant tables, and then you add this ampersand. So you're going to wait for a few seconds for this to load. Now that that is done loading, you can now type in MySQL and then u root, and now we've been able to access MySQL. So what we want to do now is to say flush privileges. You add a semicolon there, you hit enter, and then you type in alter user, then root, then you add at localhost. I'm going to ensure that this is quoted as well. So root is quoted, at localhost 2 is quoted, then you have identified, and then you hit enter again. Then the next thing is you're going to type flush privileges again. And lastly, you're going to use the exit keyword to exit this interface. The next thing we want to do now is to kill the safe mode that we currently used. So you can use sudo pq MySQL d, and then you can now start MySQL. Now the next thing we want to do is to try reconnecting again to MySQL. Then we use u root p. Now it is requesting for password, so we'll type in the password that we added to it, which is just our password, like password password. Then you hit enter, and now you can see that everything works well now. So we just did that to test if our MySQL is working. Another thing you can do if you don't want to be starting MySQL and Apache every time you boot your machine is to enable them. And how can you do that? You can run sudo and then you run enable MySQL, and you do that for Apache too. And now you have enabled the services to auto start on boot. Now that we have set up our MySQL and Apache, the next thing you want to do is to come here and open your browser, try to type in the link to load the DVWA. And now you can see that our DVWA is already loaded. The next thing we want to do is to click on create or reset database button, And after you clicked on that, you're going to see something like this, like database has been created, then you get redirected to this. So what you need to do is to type in admin as the username and then password as the password. Then you click on login to login. And now you can see that you've been able to access it. So this is the DEM vulnerable web application interface. And you can see the different types of labs that we can try here. You can see the one for brute force, command injection, CSRF, and many others. And when you scroll down here, you are going to see DVWA security. And for DVWA security, you can see all the levels I mentioned earlier in the video here. So if you want to choose medium or impossible, you can just choose that and then hit the submit button. And if at any point you faced any error while trying to set this up, check the video description. You are going to see a detailed explanation or step-by-step instruction on how you can debug and fix the error. So that's all for this lesson. If you're ready to subscribe to our YouTube channel, please do that now. Also, please like, share, and comment. I would like to know what you personally learned in this lesson in the comment section. So thank you so much and see you in the next lesson.